One time, he took the daycare van out and was using it for drugs.
The daycare van?
The daycare van out for drugs.
So he would rent it out to the drug dealers or whatever and get drugs in return?
Yes.
Did you rent out the van for drugs?
She's the judge who gives rules on the law and life. She's intense with common sense. She's Judge Lynn Toller on Divorce Court, where real couples deal with real life. Sharon and Nate have been married for more than 18 years, and Sharon says she had the perfect marriage until drugs paid a call on their happy home.
One time I asked my husband to go get me something to eat. He went downstairs and bought me a plate of dog food. He was so high, he did not know what he was bringing me.
Woman standing here telling nothing but a bunch of lies. That's all she's been based on since I would say years after I finally got to know her.
Now separated for almost a decade, Sharon wants to close out this chapter of her life and divorce Nate at last. Today on Divorce Court.
All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Lynn Toller presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today with Sharon Campbell and Nathaniel Wilson. Mrs. Campbell and Mr. Wilson, the two of you have been married for 18 years, but you have been separated for the last 9 of them. Mrs. Campbell, you have brought Mr. Wilson here seeking $3,000, which you say is less than half of the itemized things for care that you provided for your son, Colby, and you're going to tell me about that a little later on. But before we get to that, I'm going to start with you, Mrs. Campbell. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your relationship and why, after 18 years, 9 separated, you've decided to divorce?
Yes. My husband was messing with drugs. Drugs destroyed my life. For example, one time I asked my husband to go get me something to eat. He went downstairs and bought me a plate of dog food. Yes, a plate of dog food to eat. And he said, here goes your food.
Now, do you think that was on purpose, or he was just so high, he didn't know what he was bringing you?
He was so high, he did not know what he was bringing me.
Now, Mr. Wilson, are you laughing or are you crying? And now you're going to have me laughing, Mr. Wilson. Could you give me another example?
Another example? One time, he started. One time, he took the daycare van out and was using it for drugs. He would rent the van out for drugs.
The daycare van?
The daycare van out for drugs.
So he would rent it out to the drug dealers or whatever and get drugs in return?
Yes.
Did you rent out the van for drugs?
Yes, I did. I'm not gonna lie.
And
yes,
another time, I had some money in a tampon box. I got 4 boys, and ain't no women in my house but me. I had money in a tampon box, and I guess you know, that money was gone. You know, when you on drugs, you can sniff out money like a hound.
Now, Mr. Wilson, were you looking through her personal items for cash?
Honestly, no.
Well, now, what is your primary complaint about Mrs. Campbell?
Oh, okay, first let me explain to you about the vehicle. I can recall telling Sharon, if you don't turn the place in because the insurance lapse, if you don't pay at a particular time, you will get that insurance lapse, and that's more money that you would have to pay. And at this particular time, Sharon knew. I put Sharon on my checking account. She knew the kind of money I had in my checking account.
Right.
But by her delaying taking those places in like she was supposed to, it cost her much more.
Much more than it would have otherwise.
Thank you, exactly. So Sharon took over $2,000 out of my checking account to pay for that insurance that was due on the vehicle.
Well,
even though the vehicle was mine, I was letting her drive it. I had a brand new van, plus I was letting her drive the other van.
Now, this is post-drugs or pre-drugs?
Back then, yeah.
Back then, before
I was still doing it, but not as much.
Not as much?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Nowhere near.
Nowhere.
I gave it up on my own. It wasn't because of her.
And good for you.
I did it on my own, and I don't even smoke cigarettes no more.
And good for you. Good for you. Mrs. Campbell, you say your husband is a liar. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Well, you ask someone, Nate, where you been today? Oh, I've been to work. God, he don't know I called his job. He ain't been there. Nah. Oh, I gotta go pick up my cousin and take her home. Come to find out, it wasn't his cousin. It was one of his girls.
You say that you were actually forced to close your daycare center because of him. How did he make you to close your daycare center?
Because I take care of kids.
Right.
Drugs, when you mess with drugs, that's a spirit. And I don't want that spirit around any kids that I take care of.
Because you didn't want them around somebody that was using.
That's right.
Did that happen, Mr. Wilson?
No, ma'am. That's not the reason why. Here's the reason why. My son, not to mention his name, had told a lie on me about me showing him pornos, which I never did do. Okay, and because we had a daycare at our home.
We or me?
But I still help you from time to time.
Hang on.
But anyway, that was the reason why. It's either I had to leave the house because of the lie that my son told on me.
Why would your son lie about you watching porno?
He was jealous of her kids, which was my stepkids. He felt as though I had another family. So that I
moved on from him.
I moved on.
Did you remain in contact with your first family, with Colby?
Paid child support and took care of them.
Okay.
Make you take care of them.
Stop it.
Mr. Wilson and Mrs. Campbell, we're going to resolve that issue because Colby Campbell is here, your son, by Skype. Mr. Campbell, how are you, sir?
Hi, baby.
When divorce court continues.
Your father says that even though he got remarried and moved on, that he was still an active participant in your life. What do you say?
That's an absolute lie.
Are you ready to kick your mate to the curb? Call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com and become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt.
Divorce Court is back with the case of Sharon Campbell, who says her husband's drug use ruined their 18-year marriage. But did it ruin Nate's relationship with his son, too?
Colby, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Okay. Your father says that even though he got remarried and moved on, that he was still an active participant in your life. What do you say?
That's an absolute lie. That's an absolute lie. That's not true.
Tell me how often you saw him and what your relationship was like with him after he remarried.
Once upon a time, it was okay, but now it's to the point when I could see him and walk right by him, not want to say nothing to him. It's like lost cause.
Well, tell me why. What's a lost cause? What happened or what didn't happen that made you change, your heart change so much about your dad?
Everything. Him having a drug addiction, the way he treated me, the way he acted, the way he put me off, not doing nothing for me, how my mom had to do everything for me and getting a runaround for him.
Did he help you out financially?
No. No, not at all.
Now, he's here right now. Is there anything you want to say to him?
What I want to tell him now is I'm older now. I still got the memories that we used to have, but those days gone. It took me a long time for me to get over that, but now I know I'm ready to live the rest of my life without you. It's like we had our time, you ruined it, you choose to take another path, and I guess that path that you took was more important to you.
Mr. Wilson, I'm going to give you a chance to respond. Is there something you want to give him, say?
I'm not angry at him. I can understand where he's coming from, to be honest with you, because there was times I wasn't there. You know, I was into doing drugs and being with different women. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
You're talking to me. Is there anything you want to say to him? I mean, if I was estranged from my kids, I'd be out here. Look, I don't care about Judge Tola, Joe, or nobody. Let me tell you this. I love, you know, is there anything like that you'd like to relay to Colby?
I do. I honestly do love you. Yeah, there's times I miss, you know, doing things with you and going places and having fun. I honestly do miss that. But my situation right now is not the best. It's gonna get better, without a doubt. I feel confident about that. Regardless of how you feel, I'm not gonna stop loving you or feeling the way I do feel. I don't know if this was cool, with you and your mom had talked about this previously, but then again, I know how things can be in that household. Okay? So I'm not angry at you for feeling the way you do, but I'm glad to know how you truly do feel. But I don't feel that way about you. I don't dislike you, I don't hate you, I still love you, regardless of how you feel.
Colby?
Yes.
You heard all that?
Yeah, I hear him.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of heartfelt messages, I don't think. I don't know if he's able to really express himself like that, but I want to say this to you. You are a handsome young man, and you are what you do. You are not who did or did not participate in your life, and I hope that you take whatever you got from today forward and knock it out of the ballpark. I wish the best for you, and good luck, and thank you for stopping by.
Thank you, too.
I gotta say, Mr. Wilson, that was a mess. And you had an opportunity to come correct, and I'm so sad that you didn't. But anyway, Mrs. Campbell, what else would you like to tell me about why you believe this relationship can no longer be maintained?
He's been cheating.
Tell me about that.
Yes. He cheated with one of my neighbors. We set him up. And I was supposed to went to work, and she said, when you get to my house, I'm gonna call you. We went to her house. I put up around the corner. Oh, no, it's not like that. One of my daycare people that I should take care of, when I would go to work, she would come to my house and he would get high. And top of that, the biggest thing of all, I caught him in the bed with a man.
Listen, so stop lying so much. You ain't never caught me in no.
Yes,
Stop
I
lying.
did. A man.
Why do you lie so much? I have never been with a man. I like women.
When Divorce Court continues, what is Nate's version of why his marriage failed?
She mean. You know what I
When you
used to
say she's mean, as your marriage went along, did she drift away from you? Did she get angry?
If you would like your case heard on Divorce Court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com and follow us on Twitter @DivorceCourt. Divorce Court returns with the case of Nate Wilson, whose marriage and family life began a downward spiral when he started using drugs. But is he solely to blame?
The woman standing here telling nothing but a bunch of lies. That's all she's been based on since I would say years after I finally got to know her. All she do is lie.
Then why did you stay with me that long then if I lied?
Because I cared about you. That's why. Sometimes you tolerate it even if you don't want to. She just, she mean. You know what I used to say?
When you say she's mean, as your marriage went along, did she drift away from you? Did she get angry? Was it the drugs completely?
No, it was not the drugs. I used to tell Sharon, I said, you know what, I'm beginning to not want to be around you. I used to work 12, 13 hours a day, okay? Sometimes instead of coming home, I would go to the park. Or I would go to one of my female friends' house, just not to be around her. Because I always felt she had a different lie to tell me each and every day. And I got to the point I just didn't want to be around that anymore.
Mr. Wilson, you said at one point life was good and the sex was good, but she pushed you away.
She pushed me away. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sharon and I, we did a lot of things together. We traveled. We used to go out to eat almost every day. She didn't have to cook. Even if she wanted to, that's different. But most of the time, me and her and the kids went out to eat. We took a tour to Washington, D.C. We took the kids with us. We had a wonderful time. We had more good than bad. Mm-hmm. You know, over the last few years.
What pushed you away?
Pardon me?
What pushed you away?
Her lying all the time.
Drugs.
Not just drugs. I would have to say you're
drugs.
Lying. Taking my money out of my checking account and just oh, your cable got paid, but yet come to find out I got a $900 cable bill. Or RG&E, Rochester Gas and Electric, got paid. I got a $5,000 Rochester Gas and Electric bill.
So you say she was paying the bills all along.
From the money
and she was spending it elsewhere.
Elsewhere.
Were you doing that, Mrs. Campbell?
No. If a man's supposed to take care of the house, so he's supposed to pay all the bills.
So what happened to all my money?
But he said he's bringing in the money. It was in there. You just weren't using it on the bills.
No,
that's what he's saying.
Working too. No.
Yeah, she was working, but I had her on my checking account. And the only reason why I put Sharon...
Yeah, she did. Look at that smile over there.
She know what she did.
Yeah, she's been rusty and all this and blustery, but now you know you did that,
no,
right?
You know what? What's his is
that.
mine. If my name was on it, I help pay the bills.
When Divorce Court continues, can Judge Lynn make Nate see what's really important?
By the grace of God, I'm clean today. Okay, and I don't even smoke cigarettes. I got a year, May 12th.
I'll say this and then I'm gonna leave it alone, Mr. Wilson. You got yourself together, but make sure your son is together as well.
Divorce Court returns with the case of Sharon Campbell and Nate Wilson, who are divorcing after 18 years of marriage.
Tell me about the what you want me to award. You want me to award you $3,000. Why don't you tell me why?
For Colby for the last 9 years.
9 years.
Now, Colby is both of yours.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you feel bad at all about what he said?
No, it didn't make me feel bad at all. It didn't make me, I love my son. I always say to everybody, I love him.
No, yeah, I know how you feel about him, but don't you feel badly at all about how he feels?
No.
No, why should I? No, I really don't. I love my son, definitely. I talk to him as often as I can.
Is, you know,
I don't.
Loving somebody and not expressing it is such a sad thing.
I've never done him any wrong. When I was doing drugs, not to use that to justify my actions, but sometimes that does push you away.
Yeah.
And it's not the right thing, but by the grace of God, I'm clean today. Okay, and I don't even smoke cigarettes. I got a year, May 12th.
I'll say this and then I'm gonna leave it alone, Mr. Wilson. You got yourself together, but make sure your son is together as well.
Definitely.
He suffered from who you were and what you did.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. And the fact that you love him, that's real well and good, but you need to express it in a way that he can feel it and that he can use it and that he needs it so he can become the man that he needs to be.
Yes, ma'am.
And even if he says, I don't like you, don't want to be around you, you keep coming. You keep coming, you keep saying, you keep, I love you, you keep calling, you keep take care of business because you kept away for so long, and that's your bad, and that's your fix.
You know, but I have older kids. And okay, but I'm just saying, I'm close to my kids.
The issue,
right?
And no more needs to be said because it's right.
Okay, you're right. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So tell me about this money.
Uniforms.
You say that since 2003, when you separated, you've spent approximately $2,000 on school uniforms, $2,000 on food, $1,000 on glasses, $1,000 on dentals, $2,000 on birthday and Christmas gifts for your son Colby, which you totals $8,000, and you're seeking just $3,000 back, saying, "Look, you should have done something. You didn't do anything. $3,000 is what I'll settle for." Would you like to just explain that to me a little bit, or have I pretty much?
You said pretty much it, but now Kobe's going to college. And, you know, there's other stuff that he also needs, like another computer. And, you know, college is expensive, and I want him to have the best of everything.
Mr. Wilson, do you admit that during the last 9 or so years of your life, you haven't provided for Colby economically?
Sometimes, yes. I'm man enough to admit to that, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think it's unreasonable that she's seeking $3,000 from you for your portion?
No, it's not unreasonable.
Of a 9-year. I'm glad you think it, because you're going to have to pay it. And Mrs. Campbell, I knew you were playing fast and loose with the brother's money. You know it. I know it. Everybody here knows it. You know, that's what happened. That's what you did. You took a good care of your son. He's going to college. Congratulations to you. I respect the fact that you got him from them to there. Mr. Wilson, you need to do what you need to do. And it's not going to seem fair. It's not going to seem right. But it wasn't fair and right that you were a drug addict and had a kid. And so you have to make that right. And I hope that you do that. But you can start out with paying $3,000 to her to help her out with, because you absolutely should. $3,000 in favor of Mrs. Campbell. It is so ordered.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
Sharon is grateful to Judge Lynn for allowing her and her son Colby to say all the things they needed to say to Nate. She says that she and Colby haven't spoken to Nate since the show. Nate, however, says he took Colby shopping on his birthday, and the two speak to each other often. He contends that he and his son have a good relationship, and that Sharon is a compulsive liar. He says he has no reason to talk to her.